Thanks for your support as a channel member, Richard Blythe. Well, this has come a little earlier than expected, but today we say goodbye to Bristol Rovers. And I think at the end of this video, we'll all consider the last 12 episodes here a success, even though it hasn't really felt like one. Hello and welcome to Club 2, Part 12 of Non-League to Legend. I'm Kevin. Coming up on today's episode, we are going to do a little bit of a review of our time at Bristol Rovers, say goodbye to the club, and reveal who the next stop on this year's Non-League to Legend journey is going to be. Before we get started with that, just to confirm our form since you were last with me, we've not played a huge number of games because obviously we've had to come back a little bit early as this job offer has come in, but we have just in the last couple of games picked up a little bit of form again, beating Shrewsbury and AFC Wimbledon, meaning we are leaving Bristol Rovers 10th in League One just after the halfway point of the season, only 7 points outside of the playoffs with, I mean, it's the 10th of January. It's transfer window time. And bearing in mind, when I came in, have I got the exact date that I arrived here? It will say there, won't it? So I arrived... Oh, it doesn't say there. We have to go to managers. I arrived on the 15th of November last year. So when I arrived at the club, they were 23rd in the league, I think. And things were looking pretty grim. We hadn't scored goals for goodness knows how long. I mean, to be fair, we still haven't scored a lot of goals. But we did a little bit of transfer business, did a little bit more in the summer. Not that you've been able to see it yet, unless YouTube have finally released episode 7. YouTube? I mean, I'm recording this before Christmas. You might have done by now. If not, this appeals process is stupid. But we did a little bit more business in the summer and have put together a half-decent mid-table side that, as frustrating as it has been as it's gone on with that kind of form, 10 wins, 8 draws, 8 defeats, a -1 goal difference, and very, very up and down form over the course of the season. I mean, it has been an incredibly frustrating season for me to play because I'm either used to being useless or winning everything. I'm not used to this bouncing around in mid-table nonsense, but we've been severely restricted by finances. Obviously, the club is in a bit of a financial mess. There was that £1 million transfer budget when I arrived, but in reality, once we used that for wage budget, we were actually only able to spend 300, 400,000. The bulk of that happened, or half of that maybe happened before I arrived. Can't believe the previous manager spent £40,000 on Luca Ercolani. That absolutely says it all. But we were able to spend a little bit of money, but realistically, we were never likely to get money to spend again anytime soon. And with the financial projection of the club looking like that, I think we were only going to be heading on a downward trajectory the longer we were. Certainly financially, the longer we were here, and it was going to take something very special in the transfer market to force us up into a promotion with Bristol Rovers. So I think it's got to be said, that's an improvement. I don't know if there's a way to look at a league table over the last... I mean, I know there isn't, but I wish someone could do me like a last 46 matches league table. So work out how many points we got in the last 20 matches of last season, add them on to the 38 points we've got now. And I dare say that we have actually had playoff form over the last 12 months, because certainly we had a run of very good results towards the end of last season when it looked like all hope was lost. We then went and did that to finish the season off. And I do suspect that we probably were there or thereabouts as a playoff side. The squad we're leaving behind, I don't think we've done too badly. The one thing the club still needs and the new manager is going to need is a goal scorer. We just haven't been able to find one. There wasn't one here when I arrived. We have brought Gavin Riley back from his loan because he's one of the top scorers in the division this year. I haven't put him straight into the team because that would have been mad. But he's had one substitute appearance. Looked like good old Gavin Riley that I remembered. So I imagine he's a little bit gutted that I've dragged him away from Blackpool. And it looks like he's going to be leaving the club at the end of his contract in the summer anyway. He's had an offer come in from Linfield and he's probably going to be heading over there to probably score an awful lot of goals in Ireland. But our top scorer so far this season, Paul Smythe, 7 goals, David Smith has started to play the last couple of games. I finally lost patience with Humphreys, and as you can see in that little mini turnaround of form we've just experienced, Smith has started both and has scored in both. So I do wonder if we had seen out the end of this season whether David Smith would have become the striker that we needed. But obviously he's only here on loan until the end of the season anyway. So it's by no means a long-term solution to the problem. There you go. Humphreys is injured. So there's me saying I lost patience with him. He was injured. To be fair, I did drop him before he got injured. I think. No, I didn't. Well, this is what happens when I record the video the next day. In my mind, I lost patience with him long ago. But clearly it took an injury to actually force him out of the team. So we accidentally turned our form around. If we look at who our best players are, that says it all. We haven't got anybody averaging over a 7. Which for a team that I'm trying to tell you is playoff contenders shows just how much we rely on grinding out results and picking up these 1-0 victories. And let's get back to this season, 1-0s, 2-1s. I mean, and I think this is what's frustrated me most, the fact that there hasn't ever been that moment where you just win 4-0 and it's like, yeah, that was a real feel-good game. Even we've had a few of them as defeats, but by and large, every match has been super tight, 1 goal in it, whether we're winning, losing or drawing. And it's boring, isn't it? I think I said that in the last episode. Way to sell a YouTube series, Kev. I think that's the best way to review my time at Bristol Rovers. It's just been a little boring. We've succeeded on the pitch. We've done what we came in to do, and I think that's why I've been offered the job I've been offered. But it hasn't been a lot of fun. Harry Chapman, though, is the star of the show, as you would expect. So they're the best players that we're leaving behind. But I did mention in the last episode that I'd been offered interviews at Ipswich and Blackpool and turned them down because they were teams at a similar kind of level to us. And I carried on doing that. There were a couple of other interviews I was offered. But then I was offered an interview for a club in the Championship and thought, okay, this is an interview I probably need to go to. And when I was at the interview, I was absolutely flabbergasted by the discussion that we had there. So if we could have a drum roll, please, ladies and gentlemen, and let's reveal the job offer as we find out who our new club is going to be on the non-league to legend adventure this year. That's not it. There it is. That was anticlimactic. Barnsley. But the thing that really shocked me is a £10 million transfer budget. I'm going in January. The transfer window has still got 3 weeks left. And they're giving me £10 million to spend. Plus an enormous wage budget, the likes of which I've never seen before. Just to look how Barnsley have been doing the last few years. Been in the Championship now for the last 4 years. Yeah, this is 4th year in a row in the Championship, having won promotion in the 2018-19 season. A 20th place finish, 2 16th place finishes. Currently sat 21st in the Championship, so not in the relegation zone, but certainly in a relegation battle. Realistically, looking like probably any 3 from those 5 of Sunderland, Barnsley, Fleetwood, Preston and Luton are definitely in this relegation fight. But I do wonder how many of them have been given £10 million to spend. And I suspect it's a similar situation to the one that we had at Bristol Rovers when we arrived. The reason that £10 million is there to spend is because in the summer they sold £10 million worth of player. Cameron Borthwick-Jackson going to West Brom for £3.2 million. This is a whole new world because West Brom are in that relegation battle as well. This is the world we're living in now, where 2 relegation clubs can throw £3 million between the 2 of them and both still be in relegation trouble. Corley Woodrow went to Reading for £4.8 million. Tony Sibic to Middlesbrough for £2.1 million. So those 3 big players all leaving the club, and not really very much in the way of replacements for them. Although that's a familiar name. He's not the same lad that we had at home last year, is he? Is he? I need the LOLLUJO historians to let me know, or am I just confusing him with somebody else? But yeah, £10 million to spend. I don't know what the state of the rest of the club is, but in those circumstances, £10 million to spend, I don't really know how I even consider turning this down. My salary-wise, I'm on £1,300 a week here at Bristol Rovers. Barnsley are offering me £11,750 a week. So I'm getting like an 11 times pay rise, a huge budget, and a team that hopefully is going to be good enough to avoid relegation, and that's all the board are going to be looking for. If we have a look at the club vision, typical kind of stuff, they don't want me signing old men. They primarily want me to bring in players under the age of 23, which I've got a good track record of that. I didn't devastate my current board by not sticking to that one. No. They want me to play entertaining football, which I think we could all agree we absolutely need after this couple of weeks we've been at Bristol Rovers. We definitely need some entertaining football, and they want me to develop players using the club's youth system, which if there's a good youth system in place, which I imagine there is if they're asking me to do that, then that's always good fun as well. 5-year plan, they want me to work within the wage budget, sign players to sell for a profit, and to usual minimum 2-year contract for first team players. So it seems fairly clear they want me to bring in young and hungry players who are going to be there for a couple of years, do good for us, we sell on for big money, rinse and repeat. And they want to avoid relegation this season and then move towards establishing themselves as a top half championship club from next season onwards, which all looks very doable to me. Let's start the negotiations. I mean, I know I'm going to cheekily ask for a little bit more money. I certainly don't need any more money, but I'll push and see what happens. And I hope I don't upset. And there you go. I've got myself 12.5 grand a week. Can you imagine the house hunting we're going to have in the next episode? We'll finalise that deal. We'll exit those talks. We'll hit inbox again. And we should be appointed as manager of Barnsley Football Club. And there we are. Bristol Rovers have been paid £28,000 in compensation. It seems like, to me, that still seems like a little bit of a gamble for Barnsley. But I guess if their thoughts are looking for young and hungry up-and-coming players, they've clearly got the same thing in mind for their managers. I think I'm still under 40 in game. In fact, I'm probably not, am I? I can't click on myself at the moment. But, I'm still young for a manager. Have a track record of achieving. I do have a track record for bringing in young players, which they wanted, which is good, even though they clearly didn't speak to the Bristol Rovers board. But assembled a very good young squad at Kings Lynn. Did bring in some good youngsters at Bristol Rovers as well, and obviously turned that club around, as well as building what is becoming a bit of a awesome situation at Kings Lynn as they're pushing for promotion again without me. But this is all the club bits and pieces. I'm going to need a director of football and an assistant manager. Where's all the staff? Cleared. I mean, has the last guy been sacked and everyone sacked with him? He's surely not been offered a good job and left and taken his staff with him. But it's a 3-star reputation club. The media are predicting a 20th place finish, which they're in 21st at the moment. They just want me to avoid relegation. I think it should definitely be doable. We've got a massive ground, big fan base. It feels like this is a club that, if I do everything right, I could take into the Premier League. And that's certainly got to be the goal, hasn't it? Get a promotion within the next 2 or 3 years and then be snapped up by a bigger club from there. That's the current best 11, so a 4-3-3. Whether or not we stick with a 4-3-3 after what we've all just lived through at Bristol Rovers, I'm not so sure. But lots of, I don't know who any of this lot are. I don't know that I recognise anybody in that team. But I'm sure we'll get used to them all very, very quickly. That's the stuff we've already looked at and we know we're happy with. Yes, I want all the press conferences and whatnot. And let's have a little look and meet the team. So we're already getting the youth intake preview. All we know is we're getting fullbacks. It's like they were ready. It's like they've been waiting for me all their lives. They've got fullbacks for me. Yes, we want to avoid relegation. That's and I'm very happy with that as a budget. That is an insane budget. We're already spending all it. It's similar to what we had with Bristol Rovers, just on a bigger scale, in that we're not actually going to have £10 million to spend by the time we've given salaries to the new players. But it's a nice headline figure to give me. Let's say, I don't know, if we go somewhere halfway through that gives us a huge extra wage budget and still a lot of money to spend for a club this size. I mean, £10 million is more money than they've actually got. I don't know if they've ever had a season where they've spent anywhere near £10 million. So I don't think we're going to need to spend £10 million unless I decide to do something utterly crazy. I'll do that press conference off camera because, let's face it, they're super boring. But we'll just check in on all these bits and pieces as well. Projection, miserable, as projections usually are. But the thing that we really want to have a look at is who are our star men. And it looks like we've got the same situation we had at Bristol Rovers. There's no goal scorers here. Malik Wilkes is the current top scorer. 24-year-old English striker. Can also play wide, which I hope is what he's been doing, bearing in mind how few goals he's got this season. 3-star current ability, 4-star potential ability, 5 goals from 20 games so far this season. Can we see what position he's been playing in? So it looks like he does usually play as a winger, which that makes me feel a little bit better about his lack of goal scoring prowess. But if we sort by ability, best player at the club is Jacob Brown, who is another winger who can also play up front, who has been at Barnsley 4 years and has previously scored goals in the past, but not scoring quite so many in the last couple of seasons. Jack Stevens as a centre-back is another solid player, came in on a free transfer from Southampton this last summer. I mean, that looks like a cracking signing, bringing him on a free transfer. Brown is worth £11 million. We've got Mike Stephen Barre. See, his best position, one of our best players, best position attacking midfielder, and that's not what I've been recommended to do. So straight away, I'm leaning towards a 4-2-3-1 rather than a 4-3-3 to get the best out of this guy. Another good centre-back, wing-backs, and then midfielders. The thing screaming out to me straight away on there is striker. Go get a real top quality striker, Kev. You've got £10 million to spend. Go and spend £7 million on someone who's going to get 30 goals for us, because striker wise, we've got 2 3-star strikers and then not a lot else behind them. Midfield, we're solid in midfield. We're not going to do a 4-4-2. Let's change shape to that and see what we've got that fits into that. So we need a striker, and we're all right for attacking midfield. We could probably do with a left winger. Central midfield is looking solid. Centre back looks solid. We know we've got fullbacks coming through, but we could perhaps do with a left back in the meantime. And then we look like we're doing okay in goal. It wouldn't be a disaster to sign another keeper, but I'm thinking straight away, top quality striker, top quality left winger, and then see how much money we've got left. I think that's the sort of thing that, I think if we can score goals, that's the kind of thing that is going to start to turn the season around. What did happen with the last manager? Let's just have a little look. So last manager was sacked after. So they had a lot of patience with him. 3 years and 185 days. He's been a lower level championship manager that whole time, but clearly they, looking at their club vision, it had got to the point where they wanted to push on for a little bit more, and he wasn't quite achieving it. But it seems a little bit harsh to have sacked him, to be fair. It looked like he knew what he was doing, but let's not argue with that. Let's get some scouting up and running, get some tactics up and running. The next episode is we're going to have 2 matches. I mean, look at that for a baptism of fire. We've got a game today, a local derby against Huddersfield, and then we're playing. I imagine that's a rivals match, isn't it? If we have a look at the, local rivals. So we've got a big local rivals game against Huddersfield, then playing Wigan and Stoke. 3 massive home games that we need to get some points out of. And that's realistically, that's 3 games in the next 7 days. They're probably all going to happen before I've been able to sign any players. So I need to get some stuff out of there with what we've already got, and then start assembling a shopping list where I've effectively got 3 weeks to bring in the players that I need to just keep us out of a relegation battle. It's not like we've got to do a huge great escape. We are not in the relegation zone at the moment. So fingers crossed, we can pick up maybe 4, maybe 6 points out of these next 3 games. Just make sure we get ourselves above the Kev ratio and get in this kind of area. And if we're mixing in with the likes of Huddersfield, Blackburn, West Brom, that feels like a team that's not likely to get relegated. So I don't think this could be cursing myself, or I don't think this is a hugely difficult job that I've walked into. Unless, even that's not too bad, is it? I'm feeling quietly confident, but we'll find out what the state of the club really is in the next episode when we play those first couple of matches. So thank you to those of you who have stuck by me through the tormented time at Bristol Rovers, with episodes being taken away by YouTube and boring tactics and all that kind of stuff. But we have moved on from that now, and things are going to get super fun and exciting again from here. So hopefully you will come and join me for the start of this leg of the adventure in a couple of days' time. If you have enjoyed the Bristol Rovers section of Non-Lethal Legend this year, though, or if you're just happy to see a change, either way, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos, and of course, to see what happens next. And thank you very much for watching.